Today is November 11th, 2025, and we're meeting at the district office located at 9361 South, 300 East in Sandy, Utah. The first item on the agenda is to approve the agenda for today, so I will now take a motion.
I move that we approve the agenda for today, November 11th, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion to the motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and it will be given by Sunrise Elementary Principal Angela Wilkinson. And today, the flag ceremony will be given by Jordan High Navy Cadet Corps program.
You too. Well done.
Home left. March. Color good. Hold. Left face. Carry colors. Present colors.
Will everyone join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you. Cadets, you may exit.
Order. Little last. Are we doing the anthem? Not right now. Oh. Order. Colors. Ready, cut. Post the colors. Ready, cut. About face. Left face. Forward march. Left face. Forward march.
Thank you. You may be seated. Good evening, members of the board and everyone here. I am Dr. Angela Wilkinson, the principal at Sunrise, and this is Penny Armour, the assistant principal. We are so fortunate to have her join us this year, and I personally want to thank each of you for prioritizing assistant principals in elementary schools. I also want to thank you so much for having us both here tonight. We are always grateful for the opportunity to address you and brag a little bit about Sunrise.
Before we begin this evening, we'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank our veterans. Today, on Veterans Day, we pause to honor the brave men and women who have served our country with courage, dedication, and sacrifice. Their commitment to protecting our freedoms is something we can never take for granted, and we are deeply grateful for all they have done.
At Sunrise, we make it a priority to teach our students what it means to honor and appreciate those who serve. Each year, we hold a Veterans Day Assembly where we welcome veterans and their families into our school. During the assembly, our 5th grade students performed songs in tribute to our veterans. At one special moment, as our veterans stand, our students will walk among them to personally hand each one an American flag and thank them for their service. It's truly a moving experience, a powerful reminder of gratitude and connection between generations.
We also decorate the front of our school with American flags and share a special announcement to express our thanks. These moments help our students understand that honoring our veterans is more than a tradition. It's an act of respect and appreciation for the freedoms we enjoy every day.
To all of our veterans from our school community and beyond, we want to take a minute and thank you for your service, your courage, and your example.
At Sunrise, we teach 653 students, and our 653 students teach 72 faculty and staff. In other words, we learn just as much from our students as they do from us every single day.
Our mission at Sunrise is to empower a collaborative culture where all learners are problem solvers. We truly embrace this. Every person in our building, students, teachers, and staff alike, is a learner. This mission guides our daily decisions and continues to shape our success. In fact, just recently, U.S. News and World Report ranked Sunrise as the #1 elementary school in the state of Utah, an achievement we are incredibly proud of.
We are also one of 2 elementary schools in the district that house the Gifted and Talented program, SALTA, or Supporting Advanced Learners Toward Achievement.
Each week, all of our teachers at Sunrise collaborate in professional learning communities, or PLCs, diving deep into grade level data and discussing ways to take learners learning further and make it more personal for students. While our teachers collaborate, our students are engaged in brain boosters, exploring STEM in our makerspace, making music, creating art, engaging in playworks, and diving into the library.
This year, our Brain Booster team has truly shined, from breathtaking performances like our Veterans Day program to introducing students to 3D printing, green screen technology, and cooperative play. Our music teacher also works side by side with our classroom teachers to integrate music into our everyday lessons. At Sunrise, we have truly appreciated the additional time given to our students for the arts.
The energy and excitement at Sunrise make it an amazing place to be. The students, staff, and community truly feel like family. When you walk through our doors, you're greeted with a smile, something visitors frequently comment on. Everyone in our building is willing to jump in and support one another.
And that spirit extends beyond our walls. Our community is an essential part of what makes our school so special. One of our strongest partnerships is through our Watchdogs program. This PTA-led initiative encourages fathers, grandfathers, and other male role models to volunteer in our school. It's not unusual to see 2 or 3 watchdogs in the building on any given day, each one helping to make our school a better, safer, and more connected place for our students.
Our time with you this evening is short, but we hope we've given you a glimpse into what makes Sunrise truly shine. Our culture really is one of students first. We will continue to soar because that's what Eagles do. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate you, Dr. Wilkinson, and Assistant Principal Penny Armour. And congratulations on being the #1 elementary school in the state. And please pass on our thanks to your staff and teachers, because that is definitely a group effort to achieve that. So thank you so much. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Canyon Strong student recognitions, and Jeff Haney, Director, and Kirsten Stewart, Associate Director of Communications, will present this.
President Schill, thank you for this time to recognize the ways in Canyon School District you can learn more, do more, and be more. Derek, are you punking me right now? So while he fixes that, I want to introduce a friend of mine. His name is Cash Butler. And Cash is a music student at Diamond Ridge High School. And if you've never seen Cash play the guitar, then you haven't lived. We've asked Cash to help us celebrate and commemorate Veterans Day by playing a patriotic song for you tonight. Cash?
All
say thank you for giving me the opportunity to play today. I'd like to thank Mr. Lucas for making it possible. Yeah. Enjoy.
So Cash is a member of Diamond Ridge's rock band. It's one of the first and only high schools in Utah to have a rock band class. I'd like Mr. Brandon Lupus to stand. He is the teacher and start of our music program at Diamond Ridge. On December 11th at Alta's Performing Arts Center at 6 o'clock, Diamond Ridge's music program, including their rock band, will have a concert. We encourage everybody to go. I have been to one of their concerts before, and it is simply amazing. And I understand that our resident rock stars, Principal Amy Betger, who's a drummer, and Mr. Lupus is a drummer, and they're going to have a drum off. Is that true, Brandon? Okay, everybody show up to see who wins, the principal or the upstart teacher. I'm putting my money on the principal. Cash, thank you so much. Okay, let's give him another round of applause. Now he's certainly rising above. That was Jimi Hendrix-like in the way that he played that song. So Cash, when you're a rock star, I'm gonna give you the phone number to the Canyons Education Foundation because we want some donations. Now, speaking of rising above, because Cash certainly did, the veterans in our community were honored today for their acts of courage in the U.S. Armed Forces. This is our tradition in Canyons. We hold events and activities to show clearly that in our schools we honor the flag, the brilliance of the Constitution, and the rights and the privileges that come with being an American. Now, of course, we know that none of this would be possible without those in our military. So please, President Jill, if you'll indulge me for a second, I would like to honor my hero veteran, my dad, Lieutenant Arthur Carroll Haney. He was in the National Guard, and he was a police officer for 30 years. Before he passed away. He was the strongest man I have ever known, and I live every day in hopes that I'm making him proud. I honor his memory tonight, along with that of my grandfather, Pierce Haney, after whom I am named. He served in World War II in the Navy. I honor all of our veterans, including my family members. Now, earlier today, we had Jordan High's Naval Cadet Corps. They presented the colors, as President Shields said, and they did this at numerous events. I think I saw them at 3 events today. They were very busy presenting the colors at our Veterans Day events all across the district. The Corps is a partnership with the U.S. Navy. This is unique to Canyons District in the Salt Lake Valley. If any high school student would like to participate, they certainly can contact Jordan High School and become a part of this amazing program, and we salute them, not just for the service to our community, but to our country. Now, every year, Veterans Day is a big day in Canyons District. The Board of Education and the administration send a letter of appreciation to every employee, including substitutes, who are currently enlisted or have been enlisted in the U.S. Armed Forces. We express our appreciation for all they have done to ensure the rights of Americans, including the right of every child to have a free and appropriate education. Also, this year, we have started an honor wall in the west lobby across the way from our Canyons Achieve trophy case. We are putting the photographs of every employee who's been a veteran or who is enlisted in the National Guard. We want every employee to give us their photo in their uniform so we can appropriately honor them for their service. Now, today I went to Alta High's Veterans Day Assembly. It's been nationally recognized for its excellence. And after the event, 2 Vietnam vets shook my hand, and with tears in their eyes, they said, "We didn't get this kind of welcome when we came back from the war in '69. All I could say was, well, I am glad we get to do it now, and we will continue to do so in Canyon School District. The board has given us the directive that Canyons District will continue the tradition of honoring our veterans as an important part of understanding civics, government, history, and service. You'll see there the photographs of many of our events across the district today. I believe that's Vice President Edel with his kids right there. I understand that Glacier Hills Veterans Day event was amazing, and I was at the Alta event with Vice President Oakes and Mrs. Pedersen. It was absolutely phenomenal. I also want to note that we have many employees who are serving or have served. You can see a Sandy council member who also is a teacher at East Sandy, Allison Stroud. There's a picture of her right there at East Sandy's Veterans Day event. So thank you, veterans. We salute you. Now, I mentioned that music concert of Diamond Ridge. Diamond Ridge's music program is brand new. Last year it was their first year. So if you can make it to their concert on December 11th, please do attend that. Now, the next people we want to honor are the Corner Canyon Chargers. They are the 6A champions in girls volleyball. They won at the recent 6A state tournament that culminated in a match against the #1 ranked team, Sky Ridge. Corner Canyon, ranked #2, claimed the first 2 sets, then dropped the third, and then they came back in the fourth to snag a spot in the record books as this year's champions. So congratulations to this year's team and to head coach Mindy Ricks, and of course, all of the parents who have supported and cheered for their student athletes. It's only November, and Canyon student athletes have already won 3 state and team titles in Utah High School Activities Association sanctioned sports so far this year. Congratulations to the Chargers. Now, all of us who have had teenagers know that they are very, very talented at arguing. If you give them the skills to debate, well, watch out because they may have later curfews and fewer times washing the dishes. Canyon's middle schoolers, well, those debaters, they can be incredibly persuasive, especially in the debate competition category. We recently held the Turkey Tourney, that's the middle school debate competition, and a total of 42 students tested their skills in 4 debate categories, and they scored high enough to make it to the state competition. So congratulations to the students from Butler, Draper Park, Eastmont, and Indian Hills Middle. Volunteer judges bestowed prizes on those who scored among the top 20%. Now, this was a friendly, but it was a fiercely competitive event. It gave students a platform to hone their research, their reasoning, and their public speaking skills. We've seen some of those students at our open houses, and they are incredibly persuasive. A huge thanks to the staff at Albion, and to the coaches, the judges, the parents, and the teacher librarians who make the Turkey Tourney and middle school debate possible. Now, I don't hide this at all. I am an old band dad. So Brandon Lupus was in the Alta High marching band when my son Jaden was in the marching band. So I've known Brandon since he was a freshman in high school. And the advisor, Caleb Shabasteri, well, he tells me that I am an honorary Alta band dad, and I have to say that these photographs are a sight to behold, and I surely wish that I could hear the photos. Here in Canyons, we believe that the magic of a marching band is that its music is magic in motion. And Alta, Hillcrest, and Brighton marching bands competed last weekend in St. George at the Red Rocks State Marching Band Competition. Alta High took 3rd place in their division, Brighton took 5th place in their division, and Hillcrest took 7th place in their division. Fantastic. Congratulations to the musicians, the color guard. They had amazing choreography, costuming, and it has been amazing to watch them put their field shows together. Now, I also want to thank the parents. Being a band dad is tough. They are a committed lot. First, it's hot all summer, and then it gets rainy, and then it gets cold. And for 4 years, we had to have a car that could either hold a saxophone or a tuba or both at the same time. So congratulations to our marching bands for their successful seasons. Congratulations to the Hawk and the Bengal who ended the cross-country season on the podium. Alta's Aiden Neal crossed the finish line in 4th place in 5A in the boys' races, and Brighton's Bridget Smith, a sophomore, she took 2nd place in the 5A girls' race. Overall, Alta's boys finished 8th, Brighton ended in the 18th spot, and Hillcrest in the 22nd at the state's race. In the girls' 5A race, Brighton was 11th, Alta 14th, and Hillcrest 17th. So congratulations to Aiden and Bridget for hitting their strides at the state championship. And in 4A, the Beat Diggers, both boys and girls, are a top 15 cross-country team. Boys finished 12th, girls finished 13th, and the Jordan boys won region. So congratulations to all of our cross-country runners. Now, Canyon School District still has 2 teams in the hunt for state titles in football. The Brighton High Bengals have made their way through the bracket like bosses. They will appear Thursday on the field at Rice-Eccles Stadium against Springville. I will note, and as a side, that Rick Robbins was once principal of Springville, so there's a tie to that game too. A win will propel the Bengals into the finals next Friday, again at Rice-Eccles. So wear your orange and blue on Thursday as a community-wide effort of cheering the Bengals to make it to the finals. We want to give a big shout out to Coach Casey Sutera and his team captains, and of course the parents and boosters of the Bengals who work so hard every year to make it a successful program. And on Friday, it's a Robbins versus Robbins. Superintendent's gonna get mad at me for pointing this out, but he can't do anything. I'm at the microphone. Dr. Robbins' son, Nick, and he's incredibly proud of this, and I would be too, is the head coach at Mountain Ridge. They'll be playing against Corner Canyon in the semifinals at Rice-Eccles on Friday. Now, the Chargers is obviously in Canyons, and his son is the head coach, and so we all wonder, what color is he going to be wearing? So he's going to be cheering for the team that wins. Either way, so he's wearing the Corner Canyon jersey tonight. And I want to say, no matter what Dr. Robbins wears, Dina, principal color, I will be wearing Corner Canyon blue, as will our entire community. We wish them much luck. Coach Eric Kerr, I believe this is his seventh or eighth, do you know Dr. Robbins? 8th time headed to the semifinals at Rice-Eccles, which is it's incredibly challenging to do. So congratulations to the Chargers, the coaches, the captains, the team members, and the parents and the boosters. We couldn't do it without them. Now, tomorrow morning, we plan to record a podcast with Dr. Robbins, Coach Robbins, and Coach Kerr. It'll be a lighthearted conversation about friendly rivalries, doing rowdy right in the fan section, sportsmanship, lessons learned beyond the score of making it so far in the postseason. So please tune in tomorrow to Connect Canyons to hear more about this Friday's semifinal matchup between Mount Ridge and Corner Canyon. And if you're looking for something to do this weekend, I want to mention our fall musicals. You can't miss those. Opening this week are Jordan High's Cinderella, Corner Canyon's Mary Poppins, and Hillcrest, Wendy and Peter Pan. These are fantastic shows. Please don't miss them. President Shield, what a fantastic start to the school year. Happy Veterans Day. Canyon students are Canyon strong, and they make us Canyons proud. We turn the time back to you.
Okay, thank you. So the next item on our agenda is new business, Part A, and that is the Long-Range Planning Committee proposal regarding school boundaries and school consolidations and closures. This is an update and the second reading, and this will be presented by Leon Wilcox, Business Administrator. The next
Thank you, President Schill. I too want to echo my thanks for all our veterans. I want to just point out the two that I know are in the room and apologize if there are others, but I want to recognize Vice President Edel for his service. And also in the back, Rick Shees, who puts together all the maps you will see tonight, and from our IT help desk for his service as well. And all the other veterans out there. Thanks for all you do. We want to go over, as we've gone through our public hearing process and whatnot, we want to go over some updates and some proposals to our boundary study and school consolidation. But first of all, we just want to preface this with the declining enrollment that we are seeing here in Canyon School District and throughout the state. So again, this is what I have here, and I want to emphasize this presentation is out on our Diligent website now. The state has completed their October 1 counts, and we went over those a few meetings back. But you can see here they've put together a few charts that they have shown the State Board of Education. I'm going to show a couple of those to you tonight. This is being the first one here. This is the decrease that we are seeing in public education enrollment. That would include public and charter schools, district and charter schools throughout the state. You can see a dip. We dropped about 11,000 students this past year. We hit the high mark of about 675 students in the 23 and 24 school year, but we've had decreases since. They are expecting a pretty big decrease next year of around 17,000 students, down to about 643,000. So in a few year period, they will have dropped 30,000 students. They do expect those decreases to continue pretty much throughout the rest of this decade, getting down to around that 600,000 student mark statewide. We mirror them, and you can see our drop here. You know, for years we were very consistent, just under 34,000 students for many years. And you can start seeing just after COVID, our numbers decreasing. We're about 31,500 students right now. We do expect to be down another 1,000 next year. So, and same, we are projecting our enrollments to decrease throughout the rest of this decade and then hopefully level off, and then we'll hopefully start to rebound a little bit, but we'll see how that progresses. One thing is always to look at students per grade or population per grade. Again, this is from the USBE. They put this chart together. But you can see the number of 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th graders there around 54,000. And you can see how that number has just decreased as you get into the lower grades of about nearly 8,000 to 10,000 students down to the first and second grade. Obviously, that gets into a demographic issue of, you know, in 10, 15 years, if these students go to college, what does that look like? And then join the workforce after that, what does that look like? So, again, big issues for the state upcoming with this decreasing school-age population. And we mirror that here. You can see our 10th, 11th, 12th graders, just under 3,000. That's historically where we've been at. But you can see as it just drops down into those lower grades, we're actually starting to see that now in the 9th grade. We're about a couple hundred fewer students than our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And you can see that continuing to drop down over time. As you can see, there are almost 1,000 fewer 12th graders than there are first graders. So that's something that, you know, that's why we're looking at this process that we've been going through. As we've completed our public hearings, we certainly want to thank everyone who's come out and attended those. You can see the numbers on my left there of the attendees. Just want to point out a couple things that we heard, a couple themes that came out of those. I won't go through all the bullet points, but I'm going to go to the second one, preserving neighborhood schools. So that's one thing that the committee has gone back and looked at. We also appreciate number 4, the comments we've heard from that understanding hard decisions have to be made to balance enrollments. And we appreciate that consideration as we go through this process. The 5th bullet I also want to mention is consider combining Park Lane and Willow Canyon together, and then Granite with Quail/Brookwood to look at the feeder patterns. And we'll have a couple slides on a proposal on that upcoming. And these other themes that you saw there. So with that in mind, as a preface, we are going to make these recommendations tonight, make it that a second reading, with possible action at our next board meeting, which is on December 2nd. These changes would go into effect for the next school year, the 26-27 school year. So these are ones that we've gone over before. I want to go over them again. This is in the Northeast region. The first one would be the section of Ridgecrest below 13th East, between 13th and 7th, would go to East Midville. That would align East Midville, that section up with the Midville middle boundary, okay? So that there's around about 100 students there. They would go to East Midville. Along with that proposal is that we would consolidate Bella Vista and Ridgecrest into the Ridgecrest building. You can see the FCI scores of the buildings there. We know Ridgecrest has a lower FCI, better, but it just does not have the space to accommodate the two schools together into one. Some of the benefits that we see of this, I'm not going to go through every bullet point there, but I'm going to go down to the second. Supports grade level staffing and teaming. You know, we feel like PLCs and that collaboration with teachers is very important to our academic model, and that is better supported when there's 3 or 4 teachers per grade. I'm also going to go down to the third bullet, supporting choice of classes and academic programs and supports. And also, of course, both these schools are already in the Butler and Brighton feeder system. A couple things that just to mention here, second bullet down. We're looking at about a 600 enrollment once these two at the new Bella Vista and Ridgecrest combined. That would be about 4 to 5 classes per grade, with the average grade class size being at 24. As you heard Principal Wilkinson here earlier, you know, Sunrise, one of our biggest schools, or that in Draper, she's about 650 students, so we do have schools that size. East Midville would now go up to about 540 students. We are still looking at long-term placements for the ABS and preschool. We know they cannot move to the Ridgecrest building, so we are looking at placements for them. So that is all the school consolidation for right now. These other next 3 slides are boundary changes that, again, we are recommending to go into effect for next school year. The first one is putting all of the Brookwood elementary boundary in, so that's pretty much along the Willow, what's the road? Willow Creek Drive, I apologize, thank you. All of that would go on the, that west of that would go into Brookwood. Most of the students do permit into Brookwood right now. I mean, into Albion. So all of Brookwood would go into Albion. We're also recommending that also into Albion, the Pinnacle Apartments just below Brighton High also go into that. Again, trying to clean up the feeder of Oakdale Elementary so it goes into either Union or Albion, okay? So that is that proposal. We're now going to move down to Glacier Hills and East Sandy. So the quarry area by the Walmart and Lowe's, those apartments and condominiums there, townhomes there, they would go from Glacier Hills into East Sandy, about 20 students there. That area does align with the current Union Middle boundaries, so that is that proposal. And the last one would be, this one has been, I'm going to say revised somewhat. We are still going to recommend putting into Brighton everything east, if you will, of excuse me, everything west of Siesta Drive. That area, I'm going to point it out here, this area right here will now go into Brighton, okay? from Hillcrest. The previous line was this right here, but now it would go up this Siesta Drive. We want to emphasize a couple things. We had a proposal where this Silver Mesa section would now go into Hillcrest. We are recommending that still be further studied. That is the second bullet down, and that still will go into Brighton for at least next school year as we study that out more on a longer term basis, okay? So that is all the proposals that we are recommending for a second reading that would then go into a possible third reading and action at next board meeting. So these are now what we're going to call first readings for this East Central region. First of all, we want to again thank everyone for their input at the public hearings. We want to emphasize that Granite, Park Lane, Quail Hollow, Willow Canyon, and Lone Peak will all be in their current school with their current boundaries for the next school year, okay? So for the 26-27 school year, there will be no changes to these schools is our recommendation. We are going to open up another 90-day notice window starting today. Now, the 90-day notice is a minimum. It can go 150, it can go 200 days, right? But that is the minimum. We're gonna show you the couple proposals upcoming, and then we're gonna have more public hearings. We will schedule those in January or February. We will not have those in December or November. And then one of the things we'll look at is keeping communities together and the feeder pathways, and again, strengthening enrollment and preserving access to all our kids, because that's what we really want, is for all our kids to succeed, both emotionally and academically. So here are these proposals. We've broken that in proposal A and B. We're going to go over A right now. So that portion south of the southern portion of Granite Elementary, so that's on the other side of the gully, if you will still go, we're proposing that still go to Lone Peak Elementary. That was part of the original proposal. The remainder of Granite would consolidate with Quail Hollow in the Quail Hollow building. We estimate when that consolidation occurs, if we go through with it, in the fall of 27, that there'd be about 555 students there. 515 from the Gen Ed and the EEC would stay with Granite and go to that building. And then, of course, the EEC would continue on to Albion. You can see the FCI scores of the buildings there. A couple things that we wanted, again, we heard keeping communities together. Again, that full grade level staffing and the FCI score at Quail Hollow and Lone Peak. We know some of these schools do need improvement, and we are going to try to have a long-range plan to make sure that happens. Quail Hollow does have 28 classrooms. We are estimating we will need 23 for this Gen Ed population and 3 for the EEC. Then there'd be a couple left over for boosters or whatever the principal wants at that time. We're estimating a class size of 22. You know, it wouldn't all be 22, but from K to 5, all 22. The Quail Hollow and preschool classes, the Quail Hollow preschool and ABS classes would have to be relocated. We do not have a plan for those right yet, but we will be working on that through the rest of this calendar year and have that in January. So that is our proposal A. Again, that is A. We're now going to move on to our proposal B. This is to combine Park Lane and Willow Canyon at the Willow Canyon building. That would be in for the 27-28 school year. Again, both of them stay next school year with their current boundaries, okay? We're estimating a combined enrollment there of about 580 students, 535 Gen Ed, and 45 in the ACC. The Park Lane ACC would stay with that feeder. You can see the FCI scores of the two buildings right there. The benefits, again, keeping both schools together. One of the things that the committee heavily values is preserving that second bullet point there, the Eastmont and Jordan feeder pattern, keeping that keeping that pattern strong. We do estimate, based on our early mapping, that about 100 Park Lane students would be within that 1.5 mile walking distance to the Willow Canyon building, okay? And a couple other things, Willow Canyon has 27 classrooms, looking to occupy about 23 of those, then 3 for the ACC. Average class size there would be about 23 between K and 5th grade. Willow Canyon does have 2 preschools. They would need to relocate, and we'll continue to look at parking, traffic flows and busing. But that is our proposal B for that area, okay? So those are our 2 main proposals. Now, we had a couple other boundary areas that we were looking at, and we want to just briefly address those. All those will remain in place for the next school year. So for next year, for 26-27, they will remain in place as we continue to study those out longer. Again, I would say, I'm going to point out the 3rd bullet down, strengthening the feeder systems, making sure we're aligned long-term, okay? And also, I'm going to point out the last bullet about long-term solutions for our SPED units. We know we've always known how important they're our best students. We need to make sure they're supported moving forward and with the long-term plan. So these, we had proposals. Again, we'll continue to study them. We were looking to combine all of Silver Mesa into Union. So everything between everyone, we were looking to move everyone between Highland and 17th East into Union. They will still remain with Albion for this next school year, okay? You can see the numbers who permit in and out. Also, we were looking at moving the west section of Sprucewood into Indian Hills. We are going to hold on that as we study that out more as well. We're also going to study the impacts of we've had other communities come to us about this area, and we're going to look at that as well. And then, we just want to note about our school permit process. Again, we've shown this at all the open houses, but we are looking. But again, our permit window opens up on the 15th. Is that 15th? Correct. So, so please make sure you apply for those permits in all these areas that we have pointed out, especially the ones that we are going to continue to study. And then we will not be processing or accepting any permits until the permit window closes on February 6th. So please make sure you apply for those permits. Here's the public input. I'm not going to go through all those dates. I'll just go down that timeline, but just stop there. Again, January, February, we're going to continue to study these proposals, particularly A and B that we went over, and then schedule public hearings sometime in January and February. Under the code, we have to give 30 days notice when that hearing will be. So just know that they will be upcoming. So with that, President Schill, just want to thank all the committee members for all their work and the board for all their work, especially over the last couple months. So with that, I'll take any questions, or you can take comment here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilcox. Board, do we have any comments or questions?
Just want to thank all the committee members.
Who wants to go first? Okay, Mrs. Nybauer, and then Mr. Edel.
Okay. First off, thank you so very much for all the work that went into this. There's a lot for consideration here. I'm really happy about the idea of pushing a pause and looking to keep the communities together. And that was something that came across very strongly in all of our community input meetings. So I really like how this new proposal does that. A couple of things that stand out in my mind. I'm glad that we'll be able to continue to have community input, since this is a variation from the proposal as was previously determined. I am interested to hear and hope that the Granite community, those that would be in this new proposal, moving to Lone Peak and not staying with the rest of Granite. I'd really like to hear from them. That's a small number of students, so we can hear if they would rather be with the rest of their Granite community. A couple of other things that I have here and questions. Let's see, the ABS and the preschools that we are relocating in the proposal. Leon, will you go over that? I know there's more than one. So I know there's 3 preschools in Willow Canyon. That was in the slides. And an ABS program, but I think at the very beginning with Ridgecrest, there's also, right?
So
Can you go back to that slide?
Yeah, Ridgecrest does not have a unit right now.
Bella Vista, someone.
Bella Vista does.
It's Bella Vista.
We want to emphasize, we've only confirmed 2 placements. That is with this recommendation.
Yes,
And that is for the 27-28 year. That would be the EEC, staying with Granite in the Quail Hollow building,
yes.
and the
ACC
ACCC, that's currently
with
at
Park
Park
Lane.
Lane.
Yes,
There was
and I
only
love,
2.
I love that we're securing the ACC and the EEC. But can we go back to the slide with Ridgecrest and Bella Vista? Because
So
that
we
one
do
caught
not-
my eye.
We do not have placements for the ABS units, okay? So we are
Okay.
looking at those holistically, looking to add those to ABS units to other schools.
To some other schools, but we don't have determined yet at this time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the same with the preschools, yeah.
Okay. That is my one concern with moving forward with the Bella Vista Ridgecrest is I really like to know what's going to happen. And I know that it's not for this year, it's for next year. But I just, I'm concerned with knowing what that plan is for the kids. So I just wanted to make note of that. Okay, another question I have is, I really like to know what can happen. Okay, with our proposal with the Quail Hollow, the 3 preschools and ABS, that's another something that we will be looking through and study. So I would really love to have Terry Mitchell come and present to the full board what her plans are and some thoughts as far as a good 5-year plan for special ed in general. I think that would be really helpful for us to hear from her and see what, and maybe she has 2 or 3 options, but I would really encourage that to happen, and maybe some of my other board members would like that too, but I really would like that. I would really like to have a little more special attention on the special ed, and just as you said, so that we're making sure we're having a secure pathway for them and that we have a good plan in place. So that's a recommendation I have, if we could have that in an upcoming meeting. That demographic study in 2023, can you remind me, which company did we have do that?
The company was Applied Economics. They've done a couple studies for Salt Lake School District
Yeah,
when they were going through their boundary, so we had them come here since they were familiar with their area. They are out of the Phoenix Mesa area. Yeah, so we could have someone come back. We do know our enrollments are going to decrease.
Yes,
There
we
is
do.
no doubt about that, because, the state's
yes.
projecting those terms, but if you'd like to do a refresh on that, we could look at that, but.
I would be interested in possibly getting a different, another independent company to revisit that, simply because as we're looking at what we're going to do in the future, we're also looking at feeder patterns with middle schools and high schools, and I think there's a few little layers of complexity there. As well as I know, just driving around, we have some new developments since 2023 quite a bit. We have a huge section just coming up. What is that, the Murray Midvale area with the new, anyways, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So I would be interested, and maybe we get the same group or maybe we get a different one, but I would be interested in getting a new study done. The other question I have is, when we are looking at the traffic walking study and civil engineer that we had go through and look at the safe walking routes and everything like that, where is that information that the public could go to see?
We're going to share that. We haven't shared that with the long-range planning committee, so once we do, we can make that available.
Okay, and then we'll put it somewhere and announce where it is so everyone can look at that. Okay, That's it for now. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Edel.
Mr. Wilcox, thank you for your presentation. We've heard a lot of community feedback throughout this process, and I'm glad that we've taken this feedback seriously and made adjustments where they were needed. I know that I've paid close attention to the feedback, and I'm confident that all of my colleagues have as well. It's been a major discussion point as we've continued to move through this process. I believe that the proposal for the Northeast region combining Bella Vista and Ridgecrest continues to be appropriate. I appreciate the thoughtful input we've received from that community and remain confident in the strength of that proposal. I also support the secondary boundary changes and the minor elementary boundary changes moving forward to a second reading. While I do believe that our previously proposed secondary boundary adjustments were appropriate, I do agree that extending the study is the right step to ensure we've addressed the items brought up during the public comment. So again, for everyone who's taken the time to provide us with public comment, I just want to reemphasize that we all really do appreciate all of the public comment that we've received throughout this process. Turning to the East Central region, I have more reservations. I believe that the new proposals for this area are short-sighted and limit our ability to realign boundaries from the east side of the district into the Eastmont Jordan feeder system. While there have been various background discussions about realigning various boundaries to strengthen Eastmont, I haven't seen any actual plan to do so. Eastmont doesn't have a quality issue, it has a population issue. If we're not going to take meaningful steps to strengthen Eastmont's enrollment, we need to be honest about what the alternative looks like. A future without Eastmont would mean redistributing its 524 students, most of whom would move into Mount Jordan. I just want to add, Mount Jordan's a wonderful school. While Mount Jordan could likely absorb these students, families living further east would be even more inclined to seek permits into the Albion-Brighton feeder system, which is already at capacity. To prevent overcrowding and avoid further weakening Jordan High's enrollment, the district would need to restrict permits based on capacity limits, effectively closing off flexibility and choice for many families. In short, doing nothing now forces a more disruptive choice later. If we're serious about maintaining a healthy Eastmont Jordan feeder, we need to be intentional about supporting it, because the cost of inaction will eventually reach well beyond this region. And if we're not willing to take those steps, then we need to be honest that the alternative is moving toward closing Eastmont and redistributing its students. However, if the primary goal is to maintain the current feeder patterns as they are, then this proposal accomplishes that. It preserves the existing structure of the Eastmont Jordan feeder system, as well as the Albion-Brighton feeder system, and provides a sense of continuity for families, even though it does not address the underlying enrollment challenges. It also creates balanced enrollment at both consolidated elementary sites and offers stability for programs and staffing. From that standpoint, it is a sound and measured approach that reflects community feedback while minimizing disruption. Overall, this proposal addresses immediate needs and creates stability, but it also narrows our options for future boundary realignment and broader feeder balance.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edel. Are there other comments, board? Mrs. Dolly?
Thank you, and thank you to everybody for participating in this process, for the feedback you've given us, and for the patience that you've had with us as we all go through this together. And you know, as the proposals adjust based on the feedback and the further studies we continue to do on these areas, as we try to provide the best learning environment for our students and the best working environment for our teachers. In relation to our one of the things brought up in the process was the Eastmont Jordan feeder system, and know that we are still looking at that. We need to look at our secondary feeders holistically across the district and try to solve the problem together instead of just looking at one area of that right now. And so that will be something we'll continue to look at in the future. One of the things even looking at right now is, yes, Albion and Brighton are close to capacity, but all of our elementary schools that were identified almost all of them that were identified in this initial study feed into many to Albion and Brighton. And so those small elementary schools are eventually going to be in a couple of years feeding into Brighton, and to Albion and Brighton. We'll see those numbers start to decrease within that feeder. So that's why we have to look holistically with our demographic studies at our secondary feeder systems across the district in adjusting that. To Mrs. Nybar, know that the SPED placements are being discussed in the long-range planning committee, but we also want to overlay that with our long-range planning committee because we want this continuity for our SPED programs. And so as we better flesh out our long-range plan across the district, then we can also overlay those SPED, but that is of high priority to the long-range planning committee in this process. So as you can see with the demographics that we're seeing from both the state and that we have seen from our own internal studies is that there'll continue to be adjustments that are going to be needing to be made across, in the coming years as we see this drop off in students, as these kindergartners start to move through and our big secondary classes move out, that there's going to have to be adjustments to adapt to this declining school enrollment.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Pedersen.
A lot of the points have been made, and I just want to thank everyone for the hours and hours that you have put into this process and that we have truly listened to. Many of our choices did change due to the input that was given, and it helped us balance out and make better proposals, I feel like. We aren't finished. This is only phase one, unfortunately, because this is a process that we're going to have to continue looking down the road. I strongly feel pleased with the fact that we're slowing down part of the process right now so that we truly can make sure that we're making the best decision, not only for our feeders, but for the individual schools. And we want the communities and the teachers to have their opportunity to speak to this. It also gives us a better opportunity to provide transition teams with the community and with the school. That's not necessarily district will support it, but that the transition teams will be able to get the two communities working together. This is meant to build bridges, not walls. And we're just trying to do the very best we can. We don't have any bad schools. They all test well. They all do well. So this is really hard to do. But just think, you take two stellar groups, put them together, what can they accomplish if they have better choices and if teachers have a more balanced workload? I think giving it a good chance and being positive about it will be a long-term benefit for not only our students but our communities as well. I think the adjustments that we have made fit our communities a little better than the original proposal, and that's been amply pointed out for us, and so we appreciate that input. As far as having another study, Holly, it's really expensive, and they're just going to say the same thing, that we're declining. I don't know that having an outside group come in and say, yes, we're declining, that won't tell us who's moving into what housing, really. I know what they project, but we don't know for sure, and we also have no way to know what permits are going to happen. And we also don't know about our preschoolers, all the little babies. There are babies out there. I know, I've seen them. I know they're out there. We're not really sure if they're going to stay in the area, if they can afford to stay in our area. There's just a lot of unknowns that we can't qualify, but we're trying to make the very best prediction and the best wish for people to support each other and to help keep our feeder system strong and to have balance within our buildings. Some of our lower populated schools have struggled to really do everything that they would like to for their students. It's not because they don't try, it's just sometimes you just really have to have more people there to spread the love, to be able to offer more possibilities. So I'm excited that we have an opportunity to continue to work with our communities, and that I'm hoping that this will be more we're not asking groups to fight against other groups. We're not pitting one community against another, but asking, can we have communities get together and see if what we're proposing will be successful? How can you help us make sure that what we're doing will be the very best. And if there's something else that we need to consider, I know you'll help us understand what that might be. But that's why it's not a decision for this coming school year. We have time. We slowed it down, but at some point, we have to move on it as well. So let's do our hearings again and see where we stand at that point. Maybe the community will be ready for a change a little sooner, maybe not. Well, we don't know. It's kind of we need to get some more information, and we have to be fair to all of our communities. So I appreciate all of the support that you've had so far, and I'm hoping that we'll continue to have this kind of support, and that our communities will build bridges and not walls. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Oakes?
Thank you. I just want to clarify the Part A would indeed be happening next school year. Part B would be held off, right? So just want to clarify that. No, you're
Wait,
good.
I got to clarify. The second reading will be happening on December 2nd.
Yes, if it
And
were
the
to
two
be
new
approved,
proposals
yes.
are A and B.
Right, thank you. Third reading,
Third reading, thank you.
Yes.
This is second reading, third reading.
yeah.
It takes all of us to get it right.
So I can appreciate where Board Member Nybar is coming from with regard to the demographic study. I will say that aside from the demographic study, we are also constantly keeping track of demographic shifts with Davis demographics. And I also, and at least that's my understanding, is that correct? So it is something we're constantly watching with professional assistants. Beyond that, I just came across an article yesterday from Newsweek from October 12th of this year. And the article is entitled "How the Birth Rate Plunged in One of U.S.'s Most Fertile States." And it's talking specifically about Utah. So I would encourage any of you who have questions about that to go take a look at it. Specifically, it talks about how in the last 50 years, while the United States in general declined in birth rate by 36%, Utah plunged by 45.5%. So we are catching up with the rest of the nation with regard to our birth rate. We have seen a much more significant decline than the rest of the country. And I know we have a lot of people moving here, but whether or not that equates as children that are K-12 age is a different question. And so I promise you, we want solid information as much as anybody else, and we really are trying to keep close track of this. And from the time I got on the board 7 years ago, this was something that Mr. Wilcox was keeping us apprised of. And so the numbers that have happened have come right in accordance with what he has forewarned based off of the data we've been collecting. So I wish we weren't here. I wish this was not the thing that we have to face, but we do have to face it. And I recognize it's super painful, and it's really hard. I believe it will provide better outcomes educationally for our kids long term. And at these school communities, I will say one of the things that has come out of this whole experience is I have been blown away by the degree of quality in so many different corners of our district, in areas that I didn't realize. I think someone needs to do some sort of a documentary at some point on the EEC unit at Granite Elementary, and also what has happened with our ACC kids at Park Lane. It's incredibly inspiring, and I hope that at some point, some of you will be willing to come and communicate with our legislators about the importance of supporting special ed. We can talk till we're blue in the face, and sometimes we do, and they just look at us like, you're just another board member, all you want is money. And that's not it at all. We really are trying to advocate for these kids. Nothing replaces a voice of someone who lives it every day and sees it every day, both from the perspective of a parent who has a child with special needs and also from the perspective of a parent whose child is blessed as a result of interacting with them meaningfully. So again, we are grateful for the community. We hope that you know that we are hearing you. Like, so much of this proposal has been influenced by specific comments and suggestions and insights that we've heard from your community. And we are very committed as a board to try and continue to do that with you. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis?
I just wanted to thank everyone for their perseverance. This has been a long process thus far, and it looks like it's gonna keep going for a little bit. So thank you for your perseverance. Your input has been heard. This board, this administration has taken your input into consideration, and we have changed our proposal a couple of times. We really, really want you to keep bringing your opinion, your insight, your experience to us. That's going to help us make the best decision. I do want to just raise my concern about the Eastmont Jordan feeder system. Maybe this is good, needs to be a discussion for our upcoming roundtable. What is the future for this feeder? It is one of the biggest glaring data problems in our district. Its enrollment is a massive problem, and it's becoming a programmatic problem for our administration at Eastmont, at Jordan. It's becoming a problem for our ability for students to, take all the classes they want to. And I'm sure I'm speaking to a choir here. So that's something that I just wanted to raise my concern on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lewis. Mrs. Nybar, you have another comment?
Thank you. One thing that's really great that came out of this new proposal is that we are addressing Willow Canyon, which I'm so grateful for, because when we look at, that was something that was a concern to me, is when we look at this first wave of changes, we really need to be addressing the schools that have the least population. So I think that's a really great thing. I wanted to give a little point of clarification. I'm not interested in a demographic study because I'm thinking that all of a sudden our birth rate's going to change, or that our enrollment isn't going to be in decline. Those are absolute facts. Those aren't changing. The reason why I'm interested in a demographic study is actually some of the things that Mrs. Pedersen was saying. Demographic studies can actually tell us some of those things. When we're looking at more of a global fix, especially with our middle school feeder patterns, what's happening with our demographic shift is we're having a lot in the last 7 years. Our high density housing is housing families. So there's something up at the state capitol called TIFs, where these property taxes are diverted from high density housing because it's under the assumption that there aren't children in those high density houses, but that's incorrect. And we've seen a huge influx of high density housing with families in them. And a lot of times, those families that are coming to us that are harboring in high density housing, maybe from other countries, their English is not their first language, they're multi-language learners, sometimes they need other accommodations. I think that actually, with what we can see has happened to the increase of multi-language learners by percentage per every single neighborhood school in this school district, it actually might be wise for us to have another demographic study. The housing market is different than in 2023. I think it might be wise because I also think we need to come up with some good long-term plans of how to best support how our demographic shift is happening. It's something that in my neighborhood school is a huge topic amongst parents. And I think the very best thing we can do for our state, the very best thing we can do for our economy is to strengthen our public schools and sustain them. And I want to make sure that our families are still choosing public school, that it's the first school of choice. And I think that we need to look at ways that we can integrate demographics together in our neighborhood schools and make sure we're preserving high quality learning. I also think when we're looking globally at middle school and high schools, it would be wonderful for us to see a little bit more, have a little more fine-tuned study. A demographic group can tell us, okay, we can pinpoint at things like that. Like, okay, let's look at the adolescent population and what's upcoming and all the different housing developments that have just been developed in the last 2 to 3 years. One thing I think all of us know as residents of Utah is that we are used to a lot of construction here and there's a lot of building. We are pro-build Utah. And so I think that we're looking at doing more changes and more shifts that actually it may well be worth our investment. So I just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Tonight I want to start my comments by thanking all the people who have sent emails, who have come to speak at public hearings and also board meetings. And I was unable to attend some of the hearings because of family obligations. But I do want the public to know that I've listened to every single comment at all the public hearings. There were 205, and you have to hit each one individually, just so you know, if you've looked on board docs. So this took me a few days. Anyway, but I really do appreciate that you guys are really invested and love your schools. At the Granite hearing, I loved hearing how students love their school and love their buddies. An overriding message was to keep the EEC with the students wherever they go, the majority. I heard don't split the schools between feeders, and that Granite is not just four walls, but a home. At the Bella Vista hearing, I heard how it is an excellent blue ribbon school and it has a STEM program, how it's a walkable school. People were worried about transportation, and they were also worried about what would happen to the school property if it were to close. One parent's son shouts when they drive by, "My beautiful Bella Vista." Sadie and Rachel talked about how they loved small classes and their teachers. At the Park Lane hearing, I heard from multiple Jordan students about their positive experiences and how they are proud to be beet diggers. Park Lane loves having a walkable school, and they are concerned about busing. A school counselor suggested starting an emotional support group to help through the transition. And it's very important to keep the ACC with the school community. At the boundary hearing, we heard many of the same themes. I learned about the history of Granite Elementary and the easement to the cemetery. The Cranberry Hill neighborhood was vocal, asking to align feeder schools. Raintree neighborhood wants to stay with the rest of Granite and align with the feeder schools through high school to Brighton. So this is a process, and the recommendations have changed based on public input. We've listened to hours of feedback and read hundreds of emails. I know that many may be shocked by these new proposals, but it became clear to me through the public hearings and board meeting comments that we did not have the correct proposal for Park Lane and Granite, and we are leaving out Willow Canyon. These new proposals came about because the board listened to you. We continue to welcome your input on these new proposals, and this will kick off a new 90 days for the new proposals. And we will hold hearings in January and February. And we are now starting the new process, and we welcome your input, and we want you guys to be involved again. And I just want to state that I respect the opinion of Mr. Edel and also Mr. Lewis, and I am committed to further studying Eastmont and Jordan feeder schools and bolstering their enrollment. I just want to say I appreciate the work of the Long Range Planning Committee. They spent many hours working. And I also want to say I'm committed to seeing Ridgecrest rebuilt in the future, in the near future. So going back to Mrs. Nybar's comments about the demographic study, I'm just wondering, Mr. Wilcox, if you can look into like how long that would take, how much it would cost, and maybe bring that to the Long Range Planning Committee and then possibly to the full board, because that would be a decision I think we should all make together. Okay, and I think that's all. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Wilcox, for this presentation, and we'll just look forward to hearing more in the future. I do feel like one thing is left off of this slide, which I didn't see this slide before. Like we need to add December 2nd as the third reading, because that will be the vote on the, well, it's not on here. It's not right there. It should be December 2nd. Okay. Okay, but this is just the timeline, and it's missing from there. So anyway, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Okay, so you may have noticed, the public may notice that we changed the agenda tonight to accommodate the issue that we know you're all here for. So we moved patron comments to after this proposal so that we could hear input immediately, because we only have one board meeting in November, and it's because of Election Day and because of Thanksgiving. So, but there will be many opportunities in the future to hear your input. So we are going to go to patron comments right now. Okay, I have to read my script now. We have now come to the patron comment portion of our meeting. The board often designates time in meetings to listen to the patrons of the district. Patron comment time is limited to residents and taxpayers of Canyons District, students and parents of students, and current employees of the district. Patrons may provide board members with written documents. These documents must be submitted to the board secretary at the meeting, she's right over there, or emailed to the Office of Public Communications by noon of the day following the board meeting. Tonight, individuals, we only had 3 sign up, so can we change this to 3 minutes? Is that possible? Or is that too hard? Oh, perfect, perfect. Okay, so good job, Derek over there. What do you guys think? I think it's fine. Yeah. Sure. Okay. Okay, so I was just made aware that some people would like to sign up to speak that maybe didn't have a chance, and we will allow that. So, Susan, where should they go? Over there? If anyone would like to speak, you can go sign up over there. Or you can wait till our next meeting too. Okay, let me keep going. Okay, those representing a group will be given 5 minutes. Maybe we better say 3. We better just stick with 3. Everyone gets 3, because now I don't know how many are going to sign up over there. Okay, it's the board's practice to listen and take notes during patron comments. The Board of Education does not discuss matters that are not on the meeting's agenda, nor engage in public comment on individual students to protect their privacy or employee issues. If a patron wants to comment on a district employee's character, professional competence, or mental or physical health, the board requests that those comments be submitted to the board in writing. However, if a patron determines to verbally comment on those personnel issues, the comments need to be civil and refrain from personal attacks, insults, defamatory, or slanderous comments about an individual. The Board of Education values input on all sides of issues. To maintain decorum and respect, we ask that those in attendance refrain from applause or other types of demonstrations during the patron comment time, as well as throughout the meeting. Okay, so we have Amber Spazzetto first, and then Ryan Scully will be second, and then Tyler Robinson, and then we'll get those other names as we get them. So, yeah, come on up.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Amber Spazzetto. For my elementary people here, you'll know what this means, but I am currently in the yellow zone and the red zone in terms of the zones of regulation. Man, that made me angry, you guys. Members of the board, I am a teacher at Ridgecrest Elementary. I'm here tonight because I cannot stay quiet when the district moves forward with a plan that does not reflect the reality of Ridgecrest and Bella Vista. You claim to listen to us, but obviously you have not. Ridgecrest is home to a thriving dual immersion program, a program our families and community are deeply proud of. But the current plan tells me the district does not fully understand how our school is structured, so let me enlighten you, please. At Ridgecrest, each grade has 2 general education classrooms and 2 dual immersion classrooms. These groups cannot be combined. They cannot be meshed in any way, shape, or form. Yet, the proposed plan treats them as if they can. You say this combination will reduce class sizes, but that is not true. On paper, it looks really nice and neat for you. You can have 112 students divided by 4 teachers, and that equals about 28 per class. That's perfect. But in reality, what that could look like is 2 classes of 22 in your dual immersion classroom and 2 classes of 34 in your gen ed classrooms. That is possible, and that probably will happen. This is math that is being used to mask inequality. If this plan moves forward as is, only our general education classrooms will bear the weight of overcrowding. Our gen ed teachers will be given unsustainable class sizes when the district calls that balanced, but that is not balanced, it is inequitable. Our dual immersion program is one of the best things about our school, and it should not be ignored, and it should not be treated as a loophole to make numbers work, and that is what is happening. It feels like the district is overlooking the real school structures of Ridgecrest and Bella Vista just to make your spreadsheet look right. I'm asking you to pause this plan, not only the Park Lane and Granite one. I'm asking you to look at the impact this will have on students and teachers, and really, truly look at it for Ridgecrest. I love being an educator, and I love my students. I love to brag about my job. They deserve class sizes that support their learning in the best way possible, not whatever happens to fit a formula. I look forward to your response via email, and to seeing a plan that actually reflects the real needs of Ridgecrest and Bella Vista. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ryan Scully, then Tyler Robinson.
Possible, not whatever happens to fit a formula. I look forward to your response via email.
Hey there, how's it going? My name's Ryan Scully. I live in Cottonwood Heights. My children go to Ridgecrest. My daughter had gone to Bella Vista as well for preschool. We moved to this city because the school quality was high. That's why we chose to move here. The class sizes, the reputation, many of the homeowners who live in Bella Vista chose to purchase homes because the school was there. This decision directly impacts their home value and the entire city's home values when the schools are degraded and overcrowded. If you want to increase attendance, make the schools better, not worse. There are people in our neighborhood who choose to send their kids to schools outside of the boundaries, charter schools, etc. They're doing that because they don't trust that school system. So anything you can do to ensure that that school is better will only encourage more attendance. Our home prices and property taxes have ballooned. Why isn't this enough to cover the cost of the increases? They're doing that because they don't trust that state. Were there any other steps taken to acquire the budget needed to keep these schools open, seeing as they directly affect communities regardless of having children? We have not had an opportunity to fix the problem. It just was given to us, and the only solution was to kill Bella Vista. Any other steps taken? It seems the agenda is to give more credit. It seems the agenda is to give more credit and resources to private schools and charter schools when you close a school and degrade a second school. People without children in the school were not notified. None of my neighbors who don't have children yet were notified. This is unfair to them. It's unfair to the people whose property taxes are going to be affected. It's unfair to them who they may be planning to have children. They may have purchased a home there in the last few years because, hey, this is a great school system. Now it's not going to be a great school system. This is unfair to them. One of the reasons for the reduction in budget was the voucher system and people pulling money out of the system, correct? But that's still up in the courts. It hasn't been decided yet. It was turned down in April, and it's up in, it's still being decided now. It's one thing I do want to make sure I mention is the school budget has increased 40% over 10 years, and the attendance has only dropped 4% in that same amount of time. It doesn't seem like there's a budget problem. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Tyler Robinson, and then Aubrey Evans.
I do want to make sure I mention the school budget has increased.
Hello, I'm Tyler Robinson. I'm a father of 2 children who go to Bella Vista. One of them's in the preschool program, and the other is in 2nd grade. And they have been greatly benefited by the wonderful faculty that is at that school. I'm also a husband of a teacher at Bella Vista, who was teaching 4th grade and this year is now teaching 1st grade. And I've watched her over the course of 10 years go through a lot of challenges given to her through changes in administration. They've averaged a change of administration every 2 years in the 10 years that she's worked there. But that being said, has risen to the challenge. The school itself has risen to the challenge and has had wonderful, Blue Ribbon School has been represented nationally for its education value. So that faculty is amazing and has been able to rise above the challenges presented to them. I've also been a community member. I went to Mount View before it closed back 30 years ago. My sister, so I went to Mount View before it closed, and then my sister got moved to Ridgecrest, of all places, because it closed. So it feels like deja vu in some ways. I also am, having been growing up in the area, I was in one of the first years of the Jordan Tech Center back when that was introduced. To me, the Jordan Tech Center is one of the most innovative things that I have seen in my lifetime given to school programs. In my time there, I had a great time while I was there, but 6 years later, I found myself working alongside my teacher from Jordan Tech Center at Microsoft. It was an incredible experience. And I just think of how wonderful of a program that was and how incredible that that impact has had on me, and what I expect from the board in terms of when we see declining numbers and things like that. I expect innovation similar to the Tech Center that brings opportunities to these students, that gives them incredible reason to want to go to the district and to not, choose to be homeschooled or choose to be charter schooled. This is what I think, what I believe this board should be. I mean, all these many years should be working towards. Just as a final statement, I just believe that we can do better, and that closing Bella Vista is a lazy decision in terms of this problem. And I think we can do better by making innovative programs that help students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Aubrey Evans and then Kim Adams.
Hi there. Thank you for letting us add on as speakers. That's really has a great perception in my mind to be able to say, hey, we know that we've had more information tonight. Let's hear from you. So I appreciate that. I'm Aubrey. I'm a mom of a Bella Vista Tiger, and also a neighborhood community member and a special educator. My concerns about this proposal is that there's discrimination with not knowing where the ABS units would go and the preschool. There's about 3 classes of ABS and 4 preschool classes, and these 4 preschool classes do include special needs students who have IEPs. So about approximately 70 preschoolers. So with 20-ish ABS and 70-ish preschoolers, we've got about 90 students unaccounted for. And that seems a little bit worrisome to me to push this proposal through to take effect in 2026. I love what was being said about the special education students at other schools in Proposal B really being taken into consideration and allowed to stay with their community schools. I hope that we would also take the same action for the students at Bella Vista who are also in special need classes. It does seem slightly targeted to consider special needs students at some schools but not others. So I would hope to look at that. While I'm not necessarily saying that we should keep Bella Vista open forever, of course we'd like that, I do want to acknowledge it's a difficult decision to make as a board. I get that. I get that there's declining enrollment and want to come together as a community to figure out those answers. But I would ask to consider giving the same opportunity to Proposal A schools as Proposal B schools, and maybe delaying the decision a little bit more, giving it a year to look at where those students would go, and how that would affect the combining of the schools. I loved the idea of having a transition team for the Proposal B. I think the same opportunity should also be given to those schools in Proposal A, that we can consider all of the implications going on in this merger and know that as a community we can come through and come together, but we want to make sure that we do account for those most vulnerable students. And then I just wanted to thank you for your time and hope to give fair support to everybody involved in this, hoping to continue having our comments listened to and to continue to discuss and work together for these solutions. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Now we have Kim Adams and then Juliana Jackson.
I'll just start by saying thank you for listening to us and hearing what we've been saying. I am speaking for the Raintree area. We have always been in a tricky area and felt overlooked with your first proposal. We would like to thank you for taking our specific community and our kids into consideration. We would like to thank you for allowing us to stay with our community. We'd like to thank you for making the effort to keep the EEC program with our community. And our elementary school kids and our middle school kids and our high school kids, thank you as well.
Okay, thank you. Juliana Jackson and then Kinley Garfield.
All right, I'm Juliana Jackson. I'm the Bella Vista Elementary PTA president, and I'm going to read a statement representing Bella Vista Elementary PTA for a quorum vote that was held on November 4th. Bella Vista Elementary PTA voted unanimously on November 4th, 2025 to stand against Canyon School District's current proposal to close Bella Vista Elementary and merge with Ridgecrest Elementary for the 2026 to 2027 school year. Our PTA opposes the proposal for the following reasons. Number one, student safety. A primary objective of the PTA is promoting and ensuring student safety. We have three main concerns regarding safety. The closure of Bella Vista would require students to cross a busy state route and connecting street, Highland Drive and Fort Union Boulevard. This equates to 10 lanes of traffic. The intersection at 7205 South and Highland Drive is narrow and misaligned, creating an unsafe route to both drive and walk. In addition, traffic rarely backs up on Highland Drive at the intersection during rush hour. Bella Vista's building FCI score is 38.28%, while Ridgecrest building is northward of the 90th percentile. Relocating students to a deteriorating facility with unusable bathrooms and a failing HVAC system compromises their safety and learning environment. According to the Utah State Sex Offender Registry, there are 6 registered sex offenders along walking routes between the Bella Vista and Ridgecrest communities. Current walking routes to Bella Vista facility do not put students in danger of sexual predators. Fiscal responsibility. PTA values fiscal responsibility in public education funding. Taxpayers have already invested in both Anzac Park and the upgraded facility at Bella Vista. So that would be a detriment at the current student population to go to a worse facility with funds already invested in current newer facilities in place. PTA values collaboration and accountability. Rushing the decision silences community voices, erodes trust, and destabilizes the learning environment students need to thrive. Extending the timeline until adequate facilities and a thorough plan are in place for all students, is essential to protect student success and responsible transition. Special education, diversity, and socioeconomic discrimination. One of the core values of PTA is to advocate for all youth in schools, protecting children regardless of ethnicity, social demographics, language, and mental ability. Bella Vista serves a diverse socioeconomic and cultural population. This proposal has not taken into consideration the impact the closure has on our minority population, second language learners, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students who may require additional support in the classroom. Current proposal does not take into consideration placement of our ABS special needs unit. This group of students is a key part of Bella Vista school community, and we do not support excluding their placement from this proposal. The current proposal grants Sandy schools an extended timeline and further in-depth analysis for transitioning, but not Cottonwood Heights schools. Those schools also are able to keep their special needs units within their school community, while ours is excluded. We are concerned this shows the district's bias towards the Bella Vista and Ridgecrest communities. Canyon's district proposal to close Bella Vista does not align with our PTA values and disadvantages our students. Therefore, we cannot support this proposal as it currently stands. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Kinley Garfield and then Sarah Shore.
Hi, board. So first of all, thank you for taking so much time to listen to us. I know that was a lot of comments that you've had to listen to at the hearings, and happy to see that you're trying to accommodate where you can. And I love the idea of combining with Willow Canyon. I love that my kids will get to befriend other kids that they'll see at Eastmont instead of having to part ways and go to different schools. However, I do still have concerns that this doesn't help Eastmont and Jordan. Ms. Dolly mentioned that decreasing enrollment around the state will eventually resolve the overcrowding at Brighton and Albion, but I think that's also a problem because we're also going to see that at Eastmont and Jordan. And as Brighton decreases in crowding, that's going to open up more permits for Eastmont and Jordan students to then go over there. So then we have Eastmont and Jordan students not only facing decreasing enrollment all over, but they're going to have even more kids permitting to Albion and Brighton because those permits are now available. Right now, Brighton, a lot of people can't get into Brighton because there's not enough permits. If they decrease in enrollment, there they'll go. Especially when you're not doing anything to build up those schools. I'm not seeing any plans. I know it would have been unpopular, but we could have pulled a little bit of Granite into that and maybe given them a grandfathering where people that are currently in Granite, in 7 years, they have to go there, but for now they have priority permitting to go to Albion and Brighton to help kind of buffer that. Just a thought I had. I really want to see more put into Eastmont and Jordan. Before all of this, we're going to send our kids most likely to Albion and Brighton because we were looking at Eastmont and thinking, they can't take an honors class. There's a lot of extracurriculars that aren't available because there aren't enough students and there's not enough funding. I'm not seeing any investment into that. I really want to send my kids there, but help me out. Make it more appealing. Also, on the slides, I was a little disappointed that it only acknowledged our FCIs against Willow Canyon, making it look like Willow Canyon's the obvious fit. You didn't acknowledge the enrollment trends. So the demographics analysis that was done showed that in the last 7 years, Willow Canyon has decreased by 33%. Park Lane has only decreased by 16%. It also showed that from 2020 to 2030, Willow Canyon is expected to decrease by 13%. Park Lane is supposed to decrease by 1%. So if most of the kids, if it's more stable around Park Lane, if more kids are going to be living there, why is it automatically assumed that we're going to go to Willow Canyon because their FCI is slightly better? Because Park Lane, frankly, has been ignored when it comes to renovations. So I hope that these things will be fully addressed and it won't just be pointed at as FCI. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sarah Shore.
My name is Sarah Shore. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am a mother. I have 4 children from Jordan and Eastmont and Willow Canyon. And I'm grateful to hear from these meetings that you're listening, that you're taking different things into consideration. I appreciate that you're communicating the things that you're trying to prioritize and consider. I appreciate the pause taken and the one that would affect Willow Canyon. I feel like that will help us get to a decision that everyone can support. Like has been voiced by several of the board members, though, I am concerned that none of these changes really address a long-term concern about declining population at Eastmont and Jordan. You're right, it's not a program problem yet, right? But it will be with the trends that we have. And these are really great schools. These are kids that need to have a great education. I feel like some of the comments that I've heard speak to more like individual families and individual students, but really as a board, we need to make decisions based on all students receiving quality education. And while that might mean some discomfort or some adjustments and convenience for families, we really need to make decisions that are best overall for all of the students that live in the district. So I would appreciate further consideration. It sounds like that's something you're going to be considering, is how to boost that enrollment, and I would support any measures to do so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, and we really do appreciate you being here. I know it's a lot to sit here, and I know those chairs are not very comfortable, so I'm sorry. I've sat in those before for a long time. Anyway, thank you so much. Like this is really good input for us to just continue to consider. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the consent agenda, and I will now take a motion to approve that, and please read every item on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda for November 11th. Item A, approval of minutes for October 15th. Item B, approval of minutes for October 16th. Item C, approval of minutes for October 21st. D, approval of minutes for October 28th. E, approval of minutes for October 30th. F, approval of hire and termination reports. G, approval of October financial reports. And H, approval of land trust TSSP amendment for Brookwood Elementary.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion, board, to that motion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. The next item is item 9A on new business, and it's the proposed calendars for 2026-2027 school calendar and tentative approval of the 2027-28 and 2028-2029 school calendars. And this is a second reading, and Steve Diamond, Director of Human Resources, will present this.
Do I have to do it in the 3 minutes? It's sitting here. I will give it my best shot. Let's go for it.
You got 3 minutes.
Got it. Pursuant to the district policy, we do need to bring 3 different calendars to you. The final proposed for the 26-27, a proposed calendar for 27-28, as well as the tentative calendar for 28-29. As mentioned in our previous presentation, there are 3 variances to the guidelines. The first for the 28-29 calendar, we begin the second Monday in August just because of where the calendar falls. Kindergarten is now starting the 3rd day of the school year versus the 4th, which was a change in code. And then also we have the 2 professional development days that are allowed in the guidelines, but last year we moved that to 4. So those are the variances to the calendars. Mrs. Dolly had asked for some additional information about the attendance before or after a no student day or professional development. Typical days, about 89% attendance. The day before or after is about 1% difference, a little less than that. So not statistically that different for those days. So the calendars, we have not made any changes based upon any feedback. Those continue similar to the format that we have with the 4 professional development days. The professional development days tend to either go against or towards a day that's already a holiday or something of that nature, providing a longer break for families. As parents found that to be very beneficial for family time. So Bryden, same thing for the 26-27. We do have 4 days that are varied between the 2 calendars. They're highlighted in red on the Bryden calendar. The 27-28 calendar has the similar format as we did Bryden, the same 4 days, as well as the 28-29 calendar. That's where the variance is, where we start on the second Monday versus the 3rd. And that's just because of the calendar, how it falls, and to make certain that we can get as long as a winter recess as possible, as well as still get out of school before the 28th of May. Some of the things that we're requesting and that I need your guidance on, and that's a slide a little bit later, is there has been discussion about having a fixed A-day, B-day schedule in the future. There's positive and negatives to each of those, and thinking that a survey would be appropriate to get input from parents, teachers, students to get their opinion. Another issue was ending the first semester prior to winter recess. That's been effective in Alpine District, Davis, as well as Granite, but it does necessitate starting school for those districts about 3 days earlier, and then it just means a shorter first semester. Also, scheduling of professional development days, there's been concern by some individuals not wanting against a holiday or a compensatory day, as well as the need to update calendars. The first one just talks briefly about the A-day rotation of how that would work. Mondays, Wednesdays, A-days, B-days, Tuesday, Thursdays, rotating between A-days and B-days. Sometimes that creates a disparity. There could be 3 days where you have 3 A-days in a row, and vice versa. So positive and negatives. The other piece is ending the first semester prior to. There's positive and negatives to that too. Chatting with one of my neighborhood kids, I live in Alpine District, they love having it end before winter recess because it's like, I'm done, I can actually have a break, and several of our teachers felt that. On the flip side, some of our teachers said we have children who are trying to get every ounce of their homework done to get kind of their credit recovery time for that period. So something to discuss or to survey. Scheduling of professional development, seeking input from that. The calendar guidelines, should we adjust those three, or do we continue to do what we do and just bring it as part of a variance? So, seeking direction from you folks. Does the board agree or approve that a school calendar survey should be conducted? Is the survey from the Board of Education or the Board Operations Subcommittee or the school's calendar committee? And if so, when should the survey be conducted? We're at the point where this, if a survey were to be conducted, it would be, in my opinion, to make changes to the 27-28 calendar, to make adjustments, versus not for the 26-27. The calendar guidelines, who would you like to revise those? Would the subcommittee, the board look at that, or would you like the calendar committee to put together some proposals? But I would almost wait for, if the survey's done, to use that to address any of those concerns. So that's really, hopefully, if you, do you have a question mark there? Do you have any questions about any of the calendars, or do you have any guidance for me, the school calendar committee, or the subcommittee?
Okay, can you go back to the last slide, and then I
Yes.
will ask the board about it. Okay, so just in the past, the calendar committee has made recommendations to change the guidelines, and then the board has voted on that. So I would kind of say, I think that should probably be the same process.
Sounds good.
As far as the school calendar survey, I mean, board, I don't know, do you, yeah, Mrs. Nybar?
I like the idea of the survey. I would like for it to be done in February before we get into spring break or summer break or crazy Maycember. So
Okay.
that's what I would like. And to be very clear with communication, we got to have it everywhere that it's not for this coming school year, because that will probably get more feedback about the concern of it being for this coming school year than anything else. So I know sometimes that's just how surveys work, but just have a lot of communication on that, I think.
Nice, bold, red.
Yes, yeah, multiple places.
Yeah.
Like before they click on doing the survey, this is not affecting this coming school year, and have a couple reminders throughout.
Great idea.
Okay,
Thank you.
I do like that idea, January, February. I mean, did you say February?
I said
February.
February, yeah.
Okay, February, maybe beginning of February.
Yeah.
Does anyone have a strong opinion about who it comes from? I mean, I guess maybe it should be from the board since we actually approved the calendars. But maybe Steve, you can send, I mean, I've seen the survey because I'm on calendar committee, but maybe you can send that survey to the board just before it goes out. to
Let me
get
go
input.
through and tweak it. I sent you kind of a draft
Yeah.
here at the last board meeting, but we'll go through and then send it to you for final approval. And then I'd work with communications to make certain, and Laura Tuesday Heathfield, to make certain the questions are really getting what
Perfect.
we want.
Okay,
the
does that
information.
sound good, board?
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, that was
Thank
pretty
you.
easy. Any other questions, board? Are we, Mrs. Dolly?
Just a quick comment, having had kids attend in Granite District, they actually do a calendar survey every year. Because a lot of times there's little things like this that it's like, well, do we start earlier to be done by Christmas, or, you know, when we want to finish? And so it's really enlightening, and then they actually look at it, you know, by schools. And so when people come back to the board and say, well, I don't like that, and you're like, well, you were in the minority in the vote as far as what calendar people, preferred. And so I do love this idea of asking these questions and getting feedback from both our teacher community and our student community to see what people prefer, and so we can be guided by that.
Okay, well, we can talk about that, board, if we want to do one every year. It has been several years since we did one. Steve, do you remember when the last
I
one was?
want to say it was 3 years ago, maybe 4.
Yeah.
But
At the most
I think it's
5,
time.
But yeah, for sure it's time. And then we can decide if we want to do one every year. Yeah, because every year it does just change a little bit depending, really, it's like Christmas break that kind of decides the calendar. So, and it does change every year. So,
Well, anywhere
Okay.
from 8 to 11 days.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Sorry I couldn't keep it under 3.
No, that's great. Thank you, Steve. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much. Okay, now we have a really exciting part of our meeting. It's the policy update. Sorry, Jeff.
You tee it up that way, it's hard to.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, that's great. I'll try to make
I'm
it
not going to read
exciting.
all those policies. There's a lot.
Exciting is a
it's the
5-year status
policy
update.
and it's second reading, possible action. So
Possible action.
we can possibly vote on this board.
Even a 5-year status update. So what could be more thrilling? So I'll try to move through this. I don't know if I can beat Steve Diamond in 3 minutes, but I'll give it a best shot. So 5-year status. Just a quick housekeeping. We looked at this in our first reading. The board's been working in the first 3 sections. We've basically approved over 31 policies last year and just this year. So that's a lot of work in our policies, updating it. The board does a few things, but primarily by vote, the budget and their policies, and then other voting issues. So that's a lot of good work by the board. This is just noting, as you can see, sometimes a policy may not require revision, but if we review it in our policy committee, we just note that it's been reviewed, and we've done that with some of our board policies and our financial and some of our general policies. Since those are the first 3 sections, we're moving into human resources, and tonight I think we have about 10 that we've reviewed that are here for second reading possible action. Let me just note, with employee conduct and professionalism, because of the School Guardian Act, we've updated provisions that deal with weapons in our schools. Utah is a state where you may obtain a concealed weapons permit, provided it's maintained concealed. We just note in our policy that anyone that chooses to do so does solely in their personal capacity, and it's not within the scope of their employment. We've also updated some language to just address relationships between employees should also be professional and appropriate. And then on occasions when we have employees that have multiple roles, for instance, if they're driving their own student or driving a carpool, they may do that in a parent or volunteer capacity and then be an employee, and those are some exceptions to our policy. Our criminal background check policy, we've just added language that any felony conviction will render an individual ineligible for volunteer, prospective employment, or result in employee termination. And then that we've also added language that when we either are hired or rehired, we'll do an FBI criminal background check. And then we did some restructuring of the definitions, location, and the policy. Employee health and information. Here, we're just aligning with the Salt Lake City County Health Regulation that each employee is responsible to maintain their own personal record of immunization. In the event of an outbreak, the Department of Health would address and come to the district, and each employee would be required to provide their immunization records. And then the health department would make a determination on which individuals to exclude based on that information. In our hiring personnel policy, we've just noted that we've added some designee language and removed exceptions that were applicable during the time of COVID for part-time employees. In our substitute staff employment policy, we've maintained the language that addresses teachers and their responsibility to acquire substitutes. Some of the guidelines that were listed in the policy are more appropriate for procedures in our HR department. In our technology resources policy, we removed language that implies the false notion of a contractual agreement. Any employee that is hired by Kangas is subject to our policies, including our network acceptable use agreement. And then in our professional development conferences, we've just aligned that with practice, where they're reviewed by our assistant superintendent and business administrator. And jury duty, we've had language in a policy for years that doesn't make economic sense. We have at one point required the employee that goes to jury duty to reduce their salary by the amount deducted, and we're no longer going to have that provision. They'll be entitled to their jury duty fee as well, which is I think $18.50. So we won't deduct that. And then we have a new policy for salary supplement for highly needed educators. This is required by the state to develop a new policy for the SHINE program. The policy in statute must include those needed elements, so we have a draft there for review. It is where they identify high needs areas in the district and determine whether a teacher is eligible for that supplement. Typically, these are in our math and science and special education areas. And then immunization of students. The board rule was changed where if a student is enrolling in school, we have an obligation within a 30-day period. If they don't have their immunizations, they may enroll conditionally. And that timeline was shifted. It used to be 21 days, now it's 30. There's some additional time, and then there's a periodic requirement for schools to reach out and address that and obtain notice. And there's some changes to the notice that is to be provided. No longer has to be written, but can be in other forms. Most of those are cleanup and will just help us align in our human resource section. I can answer any questions.
Okay, board, are there any questions? Oh, Mr. Edel.
I was asked fairly recently, how do we make policy updates? A teacher asked me when I was visiting student body officers at Hillcrest. So I wanted to point out some of these come from people, like jury duty came from a teacher. She thought that was dumb. It was. So if you have something that you think that's kind of a dumb policy or this should be amended because it needs to change, let's say that it's just old, right? And we haven't caught it yet, you know, what's the process for that? Shoot me an email. I mean, that's it. I'm not the only one, but that's an easy way. Just shoot me an email. Then with that, I'd like to move that we adopt policy 400.01, employee conduct and professionalism. Policy 400.04, criminal background checks. Policy 400.05, employee health and information. Policy 400.06, hiring personnel. Policy 400.07, substitute staff employment. Policy 400.08, technology resources, network acceptable use, employees. Policy 400.13, professional development conferences. Policy 400.29, jury duty. New policy 400.17, supplemental salary supplement for highly needed educators, SHINE. Policy 500.34, immunization of students.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Okay, is there any discussion to that motion? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote to approve these policies. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. And I do want to thank the policy committee and you, Jeff. That represents, I know, a lot of work and a lot of discussion. So thank you for that.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is staff comments, and we will start with Superintendent Robbins.
Thank you, President. Just echo everything that's been said, and thank the public for their comments tonight again, and wish everybody a very happy Veterans Day, and thank all those that have served our great nation.
Okay, thank you. Business Administrator, Mr. Wilcox, comments.
Thank you, President Shield. Just want to give a big thank you to everyone who helped with our Q rollover. We've been talking about that. Went all in all pretty smooth, but still challenges, but appreciate everybody working through that. The big one will come next summer as we convert our student system, which will in fact impact all teachers and families as we move that one over. But there'll be a lot more coming on that. Just want to also mention that next week, next Wednesday, the 19th, is National Education ESP Day. Appreciate our ESP leadership here, Angie from Butler Middle, the lunch manager, and Paul from our facilities department, the vice president. So appreciate all our ESPs do to keep our schools going. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We're going to start board comments with Mrs. Pedersen tonight.
Okay. Let me second that. We love our ESPs. Without ESPs, the world wouldn't go around. I mean, they really do keep us moving, the facilities, the food, everything. So thank you so, so much. This is a prequel to your thank you. I just have a couple of comments. I have enjoyed immensely participating in the Veterans Day assemblies. Particularly, I did have the opportunity to go to Alta. It is so touching to see our students and the stars in their eyes, these students' eyes, when they look at these citizens, these servicemen, these servicewomen who have given their all, whether it was during war or not. They were willing to step up and to be part of our volunteer army. And we have what we have because of the service of our military. So I wanted to say thank you to that, and I appreciate how seriously our schools take our request as a board that they help install citizenship with our students by holding these events. And so if you haven't had a chance to participate, drop by or contact your school. You may have seen it in Parent Square. Find out next year, since it's over, find out what the schools are doing to celebrate those students and, not those students, I always say students, celebrate our veterans. And if you in the community have someone that you'd like to see honored, get them involved. I think it means the world to them, and it means even more so to our students. They need to see those that have given their lives, given their freedom, given their time to keep our freedom. I also would like to do a shout out to Willow Canyon students, the Herzog twins. You may have seen this. For their 10th birthday, the Herzog twins decided to ask their party guests to not bring them presents, but asked if they would bring cereal, boxes of cereal and things for the pantry. And then they had a party and they brought it down and they presented it to our district foundation so that they could distribute those out to our various pantries in our schools. That is the kind of students that we have in our schools. This is a wonderful family, but I don't think they're unique in the fact that I know lots of families and lots of kids that have big, big hearts, and that they would do whatever they can to help those around them. But I love to see them initiating on their own. This wasn't a school project, it was a birthday request. So I'm just so proud that they represented themselves, their school, and the district so well. I've been impressed at how well our Navy, even our Navy Corps, as they've been running around the district today, have presented themselves and our military as they do our flag presentations. Again, I think that that's an important part of citizenship. And it's awesome that we have that opportunity to support that program in our district. The only other school in the state with this program, the ROTC, this particular Navy program, is West High School. That's it. In all of Utah, and I don't even know how many are in the United States, but not so many. It's an amazing program, and they get to do a lot of service, and they learn how to be better than they would have been had they not had this support and these opportunities. So I'm appreciative of that. And the last I would like to say is, no matter where I go in the schools, and especially as I've been listening to comments as we've been going around the districts from different people, it is so impressive, the quality of instruction that our students are getting everywhere. We have teachers that give their all, teachers who spend hours and hours and hours wondering and caring and loving those students and helping them to become the best they can. Then they turn it over to the parents who also love their students and try to really make sure that we have quality instruction. So I am just so pleased that when we're looking at different schools, and I'm going into different schools and going into classrooms, I went into a drone classroom today, a classroom where they were flying drones at the high school at Alta, and it's just amazing the quality and the advanced kinds of things that they're learning to do now. What we had in high school is not what high school is like now, as far as curriculum goes and opportunities. My husband always said, gosh, he wished he was in high school now because then he would have probably gone into the crime been a police officer or something, NCSI kind of situation. We didn't have that when we were in high school. Our kids have great opportunities, and we appreciate the fact that we as a district can offer those kinds of things. And last of all, since this is our only meeting in Thanksgiving, I want to say how much I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for the opportunity I have to be on this board and for the board members that I work with. We can be an amazing team. We don't always agree, but we agree to work it out. We talk about things, we come to a consensus, and I think you really get true representation. We don't rubber stamp anything. There's true discussions about the decisions that we make. And we truly want to represent our schools and our communities. So I'd like to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope that you have a wonderful time celebrating all the blessings that you may have. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Dolly.
Thank you. Thank you to our schools, for our teachers, administrators that put on excellent Veteran Day programs today. I was able to attend the one this morning at Granite Elementary. I want to also thank Vice President Edel and our other employees in the district that have served or are currently serving in the military, in the reserves or whatnot. Thank you for your service and the sacrifice that you have made to do that. I come from a strong heritage of military service with both my grandfathers. My father served 26 years in the Air Force. My husband served in the Air Force, and I have 4 brothers that are currently serving in various branches of the military. So grateful for their service, and also especially grateful for the unsung heroes, which are the military families that sort of sit in the background but provide so much support, the sacrifices that they go through as their military member is deployed across the world, sometimes on very short notice. Thank you to you for all that you do in supporting the mission of our armed forces and your family members that are serving. We want you to know that I know Eastmont Jordan is a concern that has come up with this boundary study. It's important to remember that this boundary study was first announced to look at elementary schools. This is a byproduct that's come up, and so we have to really do a secondary study looking at our secondary feeders to really look at this holistically to address the problem, looking at all areas of that feeder and how we can better support that. So know that that is on our mind. We haven't forgotten that. As we've done these studies, our number one priority is strengthening our student learning environment and our teachers' working environment. Finances are a piece of that, but that's not the number one priority. That it is about the learning and education of our students. That is our number one priority in this process. We understand it's not easy, that it's hard, change is hard, but we're really trying to do what is best for our students and teachers. As Karen said, we're grateful for this month of Thanksgiving and wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I've been really grateful for the opportunity this year to work with our amazing district personnel and the other members of the Board of Education. That they're awesome people, so thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Oaks.
So I want to congratulate Alta High School's marching band again for their 3rd place win. There is an insane amount of work and effort that goes into making one of those work. And I'm super excited about how well they're doing. I also had a chance last week to go to the 47G Zero Gravity Summit. This was a very interesting summit, and I'm grateful that we had students from each of our high schools attend, because it looked very deeply at, and it was a very elite summit. There were people from all over the country who came to this. It looked at the cross-section between artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, energy, manufacturing, aeronautics, the space program, or space industry actually, and how it cross-sections with national security. Fascinating. And it was so interesting to see what kind of industries and new companies are being formed in the state of Utah that are focused on this. Former presidential candidate Nikki Haley, and she used to be the ambassador to the UN, came and spoke. It was mind-boggling and very eye-opening, and I was grateful for the chance to be there to look ahead to what kind of industries we need to be preparing our students for. Very sobering. We have a long ways to go, but it's important that we have that on our radar and that we're looking at it very seriously. The other thing, today was such an amazing program again at Alta High School's Veterans Day Assembly. I've gone each year since I've become a board member, and each year I'm so amazed at what it does for that school community and the sense of reverence that it instills in our youth. I told some of our staff today how much I wish that every one of our legislators could be in attendance to see what is possible when a school community comes together and promotes patriotism. There was a World War II veteran there, Rex Stallings, who he's about to turn 99 years old. There's not very many of them left. And one of the teachers there, Rob Murphy, spoke, and he encouraged the students to come and meet this man because he said, you're the last generation who will know them and have the opportunity to thank them for fighting back fascism. That really struck me, and I had a chance to speak with Mr. Stallings and to talk to him about his honor tour when he went back to Washington, D.C. And his comment was interesting. He said, there is still a lot of patriotism in this country. He said, everywhere I went, people came up and personally thanked me for my sacrifice, and I'm so grateful. It was especially meaningful for me because over fall break, I had the chance to go visit at his invitation a nephew of mine who is currently serving as an F-16 pilot in South Korea. His name's Lieutenant Colonel McKay McLaren. He's on his second or third hardship tour away from his family. He has a pregnant wife and 3 very young children that are here for a year without him. And while I conceptually understood what that might mean, it wasn't until I was there and I saw his day in, day out existence and understood how lonely that experience is and what his family is sacrificing that I felt like I got part of it, at least. McKay has been an incredible servant of the United States for many years. He's had many close calls where he's come close to losing his life. He apparently, as he's serving in South Korea, has a couple Chinese jets that consistently follow him and track him while he seeks to preserve the liberties of not only South Korea, but much of the region. And it was fascinating for me to consider. We went to museum and memorial there regarding the Korean War, the contrast of how the South Koreans have been able to flourish and live and have remarkable freedoms and contribute to this world technologically and otherwise. There's 56 million of them. And then you compare it to their North Korean counterparts. It was extraordinarily humbling, and to consider what part our U.S. servicemen and women have in that. I am so grateful for our veterans and for what they have done for me personally and for my family. I know there are millions of sacrifices and things that you've done behind the scenes I'll never know about, but I am so grateful for their willingness. And I just hope that every parent has the chance to talk to their kids at some point this week about the meaning of Veterans Day and why it's important to remember. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Edel.
So happy Veterans Day to my fellow brothers and sisters at arms, for all those who came before us and for all those that'll follow. And I may as well add a plug. So it's been a really great time. So I've served in the military now 21 years, and it's been a blast. So I just want to put a plug out there for the Air National Guard. Especially, there's no young people listening right now, but maybe there's a parent who is, right, who can tell their child about it. I've been able to travel the world. The educational benefits are second to none. There's a tuition waiver, so they'll just pay the full tuition for an in-state school. But you also get to work with some of the most amazing people you will ever meet in your entire life. And it has just been absolutely fantastic. And I hope to have realistically another 15 to 20 years left to go. because I have loved it so much. But back to school, I do want to mention that I was able to visit with student councils at Jordan High School, Hillcrest High School, and Mount Jordan Middle School, as well as our district student advisory council. So it was really fun to talk to the students and to hear what they're thinking, what their concerns are, answer questions that they have. And then special thanks to the teachers who support those programs as well. Again, thank you to everyone who is engaged with our boundary study. Thanks to everyone who has suffered out tonight as well. It's really hot in here this whole night. My phone was saying it's somewhere between 75 and 78 degrees tonight. And then happy Thanksgiving to everybody. We're kind of preparing, but maybe prepare turkeys instead of ourselves as we go into Thanksgiving. So.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lewis.
All right. I also want to start by saying thank you to those who have signed up and served this country throughout our long history. We've had quite a few tests, and I feel like over the last couple of years, at least in my lifetime, there's been a lot of peace at home, and I want to thank a veteran for that. To more school-related issues, just from a personal standpoint, I would support a fixed schedule for A and B days. I had the opportunity to attend Skyline High School. During their transition, during my time at that school, I started. It was not fixed. Then they switched to fixed. And I will say, despite the obvious trade-off of not having both A and B day classes, having a short day on Friday, which there was a lot of kids who appreciated that. The consistency that created was invaluable. And even as I talked to friends who are still at Hillcrest, they also would appreciate that change. Onto school boundary stuff, I would just love to see some clarity on how many students are actually boundaried to each school. And this is probably just more for our patrons specifically, just to provide some clarity on whether or not the Jordan and Eastmont enrollment problem is a boundary problem, just an issue of how many students are actually boundaried into the schools versus if it's a self-feeding low enrollment loop. The kids are staying out and then you lose programming and then more kids get out, that kind of issue. I would also just love to see some clarity for patrons on the class band size on the consolidated schools. What are the class sizes going to be at each of the schools? How large are each of the bands going to be for each of the grades at the new potential Willow Canyon, the new potential Quail Hollow, the new potential Ridgecrest? I think that would be helpful for our patrons to see, to kind of alleviate some of that confusion. Because I feel like we're getting a lot of questions on class size and would this really affect the enrollment of Eastmont and Jordan? Because that's an issue that I'm hearing a lot of. And then just on to finally, we won't see most of you before Thanksgiving. Earlier this year, I retired the word grateful from my vocabulary because I became very dependent on it. But I feel like this is a great opportunity to say that I'm extremely grateful to serve on this board. I'm extremely grateful to have had this opportunity to serve at such a young point in my life and to serve such an incredible school district and such an incredible community. I'm extremely grateful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Nybar.
Well, you learn a lot of things when you get onto YouTube. First off, I took the time to get onto one of the board meeting YouTubes, which actually I've never done that before. I'm a good learner of when people talk, I listen. It's that human connection. I remember it better if someone says it than if I read it. So I don't really find occasion to go back and review our meetings, but I did for a specific patron comment. And somehow the mouse landed on me and I learned two things. I need to talk a lot quicker. I'm very sorry, I'm a slow talker. I noticed that when I was watching YouTube. And I need to smile more, so I'm working on that. I'm really grateful that the room has been warm. I came from a room where it was highly air conditioned and super freezing for 10 hours. So it's great for me. Congrats to the Alta Marching Band. Super excited and proud for them. Congrats to Corner Canyon Volleyball. That was amazing. Got such a great program there. I failed to recognize last time when we were talking about Apex Award winners. I'm grateful for Kathy Hilton over at Corner Canyon. Fantastic financial secretary. She was recognized. Mayor Troy Walker. He's a great community partner, and he actually has a few sons that work in the military. Kirsten Stewart and Denise Haycock, so grateful for them and all they do for Canyons. This school year, I've been able to go into the schools 2 to 3 times a week to volunteer with reading and math groups. I love being in the classroom. Having been a teacher and going, that's what I got my degree in, was education. It's a passion of mine. And I love getting into the classrooms and seeing the sense of community there, the classroom culture, how the teachers are building that, and how just the class system works with the kids and the peers and how they help each other. It's pretty amazing. If you want to go home and feel so grateful for the rising generation, get in the classroom and volunteer. They're amazing kids and amazing teachers. Oak Hollow always does an amazing veterans breakfast and program. It's a singing performance. Unfortunately, I had a conflict this morning, so I wasn't able to go. Sometimes the news has been there. It is fantastic. One of the best veterans programs I've ever been to, and I'm so grateful for them for doing that. I really appreciated the teacher that got up and talked about the Ridgecrest Bella Vista with the dual language immersion. I think that's something we need to look into. I had already mentioned I was worried about the impact on special ed, so I look forward to that further discussion. As far as Eastmont and Jordan High School, thank you for that comment. I very much want to look at that and how to fix that, but I believe that we can draw lines as best we can and try to do as best we can with what we want to do boundary-wise. But at the end of the day, it's the programs at the school and the culture that can really drive up the enrollment. And I want to take a very dedicated and focused look, and I am committed. I would like, and in fact, I think it would impact other things we're looking at doing right now, but I'd really like to see some really good programming at Jordan High School where people are wanting to even open enroll into that school for specific programs. And we need to build it from the inside out. And not to say that I don't want to look at the boundary study. I do. I very much agree with what Mrs. Dolly said. This first study the problem was elementary schools and how to fix our low enrollment. We do need to look at middle schools, absolutely. Secondary, middle, and high, and that needs to be a full study in and of itself. I think whenever we're looking at closing an elementary school, that has been the spotlight, and so that's why families are coming out and speaking. And we even had in that first proposal some little things about a few little middle school realignments, and I was uncomfortable with that because I felt like it didn't give the proper attention and even a proper attention for the community to bring input. So I am very committed to that. I just don't think we should mix it with this. But I also think we really got to look at building programs. So that's so important. We saw that with Alta High School. Alta High School had a low population. We brought in Step to the U. Brian McGill was the principal there. He did a few different things, and that enrollment boosted up. And we have so many students actually that even come from different districts for Alta for that program. We added Step to the U to Jordan High School. I don't think that really works when there's another high school so close that has an established program. I think we need to look at new things. We had the Navy ROTC come in and do present the flag, and we started that program there. Awesome. We need more students in it, though. We need to be looking at other things. I was able to participate in a meeting with the Oak Hollow logo refresh. Jeff Olson's amazing. I loved meeting with that community this week. As far as our veterans go, I just want to thank all of our veterans out there. No matter your assignment or your duration, your sacrifice is worth all our praise. So thank you to all the veterans out there. As far as Thanksgiving goes, I'm so very grateful for so many people here at the district that have helped me. I'm in a situation of life circumstances where I actually require a lot more help than I have in the past, which is difficult for me. I'd rather be on the giving end than the receiving. But a special shout out to Derek in IT. He's helped me countless hours. Thank you so much. Cindy, Kirsten, Jeff, Susan, Leon, Rick, and all my fellow board members who have provided a lot of strength, understanding, support, and picked up the slack when I needed it the most. I work with amazing people, and I'm so very grateful for the support and their dedication and their patience with me right now at this time in my life. We have an amazing, amazing community, amazing canyons, and amazing schools. And so that is definitely the top of my list with gratitude. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have watched myself as well on YouTube before, and I also talk slowly, and I look down too much, and I need to smile more. I learned that. Anyway, I'm working on all those things. I was able to attend the Health in the Heights Coalition dinner. We had a dinner, and it's in Cottonwood Heights, and it's a group that works together to try to bring healthy things to our city. And there's a whole list of things. I'm not going to bore you with reading them all that they've been doing this year, but it's really great. It's a great group of people. I was able to attend the Bella Vista Elementary Veterans Day Assembly. It was really cute. There were family members that were veterans, and the kids had some really fun songs they sang, and it was just a really nice event. I want to say congrats to the Brighton Marching Band, and they got 5th in their competition. Yeah, and also just congrats to the Brighton football team for making the semifinals. And they had a bye week, and so I just wanted to highlight something they did. They always do a couple service projects. So there were 80 football players that went to East Midvale, and they went into 6 different little groups, and they organized monthly food backpacks. They built desks, they deep cleaned tables, they weeded, they washed mural walls, moved furniture, cleared out closets, hung 13 banners around the gym, repainted the Gaga pits, I don't know what that is, and activity goods for our community garden. And their community person said, "We were made canyons stronger with their service." So I thought that was really cute. And she sent me some pictures of the team. And I just really appreciate coaches and our teachers that teach life lessons to our kids. I think that's really important. It's more than just about the sports or the band or whatever it is. It's about life lessons for our students. So anyway, thank you, board. Thank you to our veterans. My dad and my father-in-law were veterans, and also my brother is in the Air Force Reserve. So I do appreciate all their service and sacrifice for our freedoms. So, and now I will call this meeting to a close, and we will now adjourn. Thank you.